Good evening. I am Mayor Pro Tem Edward Wood, and I am calling this regular meeting of the University Place City Council for Monday, October 20th, to order. Deputy Clerk, could I have the roll call, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Councilmember Boykin?
I'm here.
Councilmember McCluskey?
I'm here.
Councilmember Fleming?
I'm here.
Councilmember Grassi is excused. Mayor Pro Tem Wood?
Present.
Mayor Figueroa is excused. Mayor Pro Tem, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Councilmember Fleming, could you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I will. Please join us in the pledge to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a motion to approve our agenda?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move approval of our agenda.
Mayor Pro Tem, I second.
Any objections to the agenda as printed? Hearing none, agenda is approved. All right, moving on to item number 5 on the agenda, presentations. It is my understanding that the 30th Birthday Bash sponsorship recognitions are going to be postponed to a later date. However, we do have the University Place Historical Society 25th anniversary here. If all those could please come forward. So thank you all for being here. And I'm sorry, I'm just going to hand this down so I can, if you could each just state your name for a minute so you know who's here, I'd very, very much appreciate it.
Jan Loomis.
Karen Benvenisti.
Cindy Bonero.
Frank Bonero.
Linda Bird.
Thank you so much. So this presentation is in honor of the 25th anniversary of the UP Historical Society, which has done a great job for our community in just obviously preserving our history, of course. And so let me go ahead and read this. The City Council of University Place proudly honors and congratulates the University Place Historical Society on its 25th anniversary. This milestone marks a profound legacy of dedication, resilience, and excellence. For a quarter of a century, the University Place Historical Society has worked tirelessly to preserve and share the rich heritage of our community, from the stories of indigenous peoples to the pioneering spirit of early settlers. Through collaboration, perseverance, and thoughtful stewardship, you have secured vital resources to archive, display, and protect artifacts that illuminate our shared history. Your passion and commitment ensure that the cultural tapestry of University Place remains accessible to all, inviting residents and visitors alike to learn, reflect, and appreciate the diversity that shapes our present. Thank you for your 25 years, remarkable years of service. You embody the heart and spirit of University Place. Presented on October 20th, 2025, Javier Figueroa, Mayor. All right, and would one of you like to say a few words?
This is Cindy Bonero, our very first president and beginner of this organization.
Oh. Well, I have to say, the Historical Society has come a long way from the beginning. In 1999, we had a small collection in the University Place Library, and we had some items here at the City Hall. And now it's grown to include all the things that we have at the museum. And we feel so fortunate to have the city's support for all these years. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely, Mayor Pro Tem.
I know I'm virtual, but I'm going to speak up. Can anyone hear me?
No.
Guess not. Okay.
Yes, we can.
Go ahead, Denise.
Before they left, I just wanted to say a heartfelt thank you to the UP Historical Society. Congratulations on 25 amazing, and I'm sure not only exciting but hard work years to create from your love of history, your passion for UP, and not only that, you found a place to archive our history for tens of thousands of dollars worth of fundraising, roll up your sleeve, action-oriented work, and the fruits of your labor are now paying off. I'm nasally because I'm just getting over COVID, if you're wondering why I sound kind of one-off today, but I'm not really one-off in this. Congratulations, and I'm just totally over the moon that you are here for this presentation, and also for the benefit of our UP history and artifacts. It will mean a lot in perpetuity. So thank you again.
Thank you. Okay, so moving on to the item number 6, public comments. Could you post the graphic online, please? And we have in the room, we have one person signed up for a public comment, Lars Summer. Could you please come forward and right there to the microphone and state your name and address for the record, and you will have 3 minutes.
Good. Hi, Lars Summer. My address is 9607 55th Street, Court West here in University Place. I'm a husband and father of 2. One of my sons is behind me here and goes to Chambers Primary, which I am fortunate enough to live in the neighborhood of. And so either my wife or I will walk Justin to school every day and then pick him up from school. And so we get a lot of opportunity to observe the traffic patterns on this road. And what I've observed is that the speed limit there is set at 25 miles per hour, and yet we have no road markings, no speed controlling devices of any kind, and the school zone extends only about 100 yards past the school itself, which otherwise is a long, straight stretch. The result of that, as Councilmember Boykin and Grassi have observed, who are kind enough to come out and see the street in person and talk with me about it, is that the traffic patterns are often in excess of 25 miles an hour, which I believe even that to be too high. This street dead ends in the school itself. That is the majority and primary traffic driver for that street. So when school is either starting or ending, the amount of children that are on bicycles or walking and playing either to and from school is very high, as are the cars. And so council members Boykin and Grassi and I were talking about possible solutions to reduce the speed on that street. Obviously reducing it to 15 miles an hour is one option, but also the possibility of adding traffic calming devices like a speed hump, taking the existing speedometer radar speed sign and adding blue and red flashing lights to it, if that is effective. Making the school zone sign actually activate during school hours, which currently does not appear to be configured to do so, or any other alternative solutions that we might be open to. We've had law enforcement officers stationed on the side of the road on that street, and I have observed in just a single walk to school, which is a 10-minute window of time, that the officers had to flash their lights repeatedly, even just in the amount of time it takes me to walk to school. When council members Boykin and Grassi were out, we observed a driver driving clearly above 25 miles an hour as a child had stepped off the sidewalk right there. So again, with no marking on the road whatsoever, I feel that it would be a benefit to the community to implement some sort of traffic calming in that area.
Okay, thank you. And just for clarity's sake, can you name the street?
56th Street West, and that's to Chambers Primary.
Got it, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, was there Anybody else in the room who cared to do public comment? All right, seeing none, is there anyone online?
No one online, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. All right, that will close our public comment for this evening. All right, moving on to our consent agenda. Can I have a motion to approve our consent agenda as proposed?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we approve the consent agenda as proposed.
Mayor Pro Tem, I second.
All right, any objections? Hearing none, the motion passes unanimously. All right, moving down to item number 8, we have a public hearing and council consideration of a purchase development agreement on the 27th Street Apartments, LLC. Staff report will be Jack Eklund, our Public Works Director.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem and City Council. I'm Jack Eklund, Director of Public Works, and as you mentioned, tonight I'm bringing for public hearing a purchase and development agreement between the City of University Place and the 27th Street Apartments, LLC, for the purchase of the property located at 2903 Morrison Road West. This property is located immediately adjacent to the Adriana Hess Wetland Park, and our Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Plan has identified the acquisition of this parcel to be beneficial to support the needs of our park. The property owner, 27th Street Apartments, is currently developing an adjacent property as a multifamily and mixed-use development. And as a condition of that development, they are required to pay park impact fees. The purchase and development agreement that is attached, the draft purchase and sale agreement that's attached to your council bill, has been negotiated and identifies the agreed upon purchase price of this property of $715,000, as well as a provision for crediting all park impact fees due by the property owner in conjunction with their development toward the purchase price, which results in a net purchase price of $164,380. This acquisition not only directly benefits the new residents of this upcoming development, but also supports the city's long-term goals for land use, parks, and community infrastructure as outlined in our comprehensive planning documents. With that, that concludes my report. Other than we have done a study of this associated when we did the Parks and Open Space plan amendments a couple council meetings ago. Yeah, that's a good idea. Sorry, we do have, as noted here, we don't have formal budgeted amount for the dollars. However, the funding has been identified by our finance staff of the amount to support it, and it would be there is sufficient funds within our overall budget, and to be appropriate, we'll just come forward in the next budget adjustment cycle. In addition, the dollar amount shown here is the purchase price. We do anticipate a minimal amount of some closing costs that then also would be adjusted in that budget amendment as well. Now that concludes my report.
Okay. Are there any questions of fact for Jack from council? Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Jack, I first of all, thank you for that quick summary, and again, thank you for the work you've done on that. I know I had concerns about the cost and where that money was coming from, and was it in the best interest of the city, and I really do believe that now that we're there, that you've done your due diligence, and certainly with the funding mix, I like that idea. I support that. My question is for the balance due, is that going to come from carry forward monies, or where are we pulling that from?
Yes, so the balance dues, the funds that are identified are that unallocated carry forward money from last year, the part of that balance of million some odd dollars. So that's where we've identified would be an opportunity for this to be paid for out of.
Makes perfect
and as
sense.
a reminder, those are basically budgetary savings we had for and increased revenues that weren't anticipated.
No, it makes perfect sense. So I support that. I like that. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you so much, Mayor Pro Tem. Just a comment. I just wanted to affirm that it's an excellent strategic property for the city to acquire. We have done due diligence, as the staff has alluded to, as well as the expectation of what it would look like in terms of not being clear about what those funds may be, but much more importantly, or just as importantly, I should say, we have identified where those funds would come from. I'm just excited about what it means because it's one more piece that our residents and citizens have talked about, asked about, and it's one more way to show the diligence of governance in terms of making sure that we position assets that make sense for our city. So just appreciative of all of that and the hard work that staff put in to make this, at this point, a reality. Thank you, Richard.
Thank you. And just a reminder, this part, we're only asking questions of fact.
Yes.
Editorial commentary, we'll still have an opportunity for that.
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right. Councilmember McCluskey, do you have any questions at this time?
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Just one point of clarification. The 27th Street Apartment LLC will be responsible for restoring all the surrounding areas to native species, creating a boardwalk, and public access into that area there. Just wanted to clarify a little bit more on some of the amenities that they are also providing in this transaction.
Yes, it's part of the development, not necessarily part of the agreement here, but Councilmember McCluskey is correct that developer, they are doing extensive wetland restoration and trail improvements that will line up and connect into our park at Adriana Hess, and also will provide an excellent opportunity for us to, I think they're going to be constructing a trail all the way up, and I think we have about 20 to 50 feet for our parks folks to extend the trail from Paradise Pond to connect into this. So then we'll have a continuous route after that development is done from Adriana Hess all the way to Paradise Pond, which really is a really cool amenity for the community as a whole. Yeah.
All right, I just have one kind of follow-up question to that. Since you're talking about this wonderful trail, and how soon after the acquisition of the property and would we be able to see an actual trail be developed? What kind of time frame are we looking at here?
So the trail itself, that's being done as part of the overall development of their development. They are, I think it's probably about a year away. They're doing the wetland planting restoration right now. I think they've done almost all the plantings. They do have about a year maintenance, a year or two maintenance period for ensuring the plants are established. And then it will depend on, their schedule. They are in full swing right there, and as folks probably have seen quite a bit of activity there. So they are working on that, and as they have their access, the things develop such that they can get the better access for trail building, then they'll complete that work. But they're anticipating to be done by probably in about a year is what our hope is.
Great, thank you. Councilmember.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I do have a question this time. I did want to ask, based upon how you've been able to share further about activities we can expect to sort of ready that property, have we taken ownership of that property at this point? And if so, what, if any, transition plan for the previous owners in terms of any needs that they may have, and how might that be addressed as we move forward?
And that's for, you're talking about the wetland property?
Absolutely.
Okay, yes. So just as a clarification for those watching, there are, in addition to the property in the development agreement in front of us, and the development property that they're doing the multifamily use, there is a large wetland property that they are doing the trail improvements, and then once they're done with that, then their intent is to then dedicate that whole property to the city. But they won't be doing that until they finish the trail work. So we have provisions in place that they would be able to dedicate that to us, and then we'd still grant them the easements necessary for them to do whatever required maintenance and monitoring they need to do. But so I would anticipate sometime within a year that they'd complete that.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, any further questions of clarification? All right, hearing none, I'm going to open up to public comment. Is there anyone in the room who is here to comment on this particular issue? All right, seeing none, is Deputy Clerk, is there anyone online?
No one online.
Okay, thank you. I will now close the public hearing part of this, and we'll move on to council consideration. Can I have a motion to consider, please?
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move that we approve the purchase of the real property located at 2903 Morrison Road West, University Place, Washington 98466, and authorize the city manager to execute the purchase and development agreement substantially in the form attached here to, and execute all other necessary documents to complete this purchase.
Mayor Pro Tem, I second.
All right, thank you. We'll now move to consideration. Is anyone have additional questions or comments? Councilmember McCluskey. You're on mute.
Greg, I bet you like me muted better, but here I go. I'd like to thank the staff for all their hard work and diligence. It's been quite a few years. I remember I was on a park commission. We were dreaming of having this connection and piece of property to align with Paradise Pond and Adriana Hess and the community who have access to the beautiful wetlands that are there and the bird sanctuary as well. So I am glad I'm on the council and able to vote this in. It's kind of a full circle for me. So thank you all for all your hard work and diligence and to keep it on the radar. And to the developer at 27th Street Apartment, Mr. Weiss, for being a community vision-oriented property or potential business owner in our community with his apartment and multi-use complex. So welcome to him in the community, and a big thank you to handing our citizens a nice gift into the natural environment.
Thank you. Any others? All right, I'm going to go ahead and call for a vote. Deputy Clerk, could you please do a roll call?
Yes. Councilmember Boykin?
Yes.
Councilmember McCluskey?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleming?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Wood?
Aye.
With 4 in favor, the motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, item number 9, City Manager and Council comments and reports.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem and Council. One item for tonight, this Thursday at 5:30 p.m., Thursday, October 23rd, here in this room, the Public Safety Advisory Commission will be holding a focus group on traffic safety and about 20 residents have signed up for that. So later this fall, the Public Safety Commission will come back and be giving Council a report on that. And that's my report. So 5:30 this Thursday, October 23rd, here in the council chambers.
Okay, just out of curiosity, did anybody think to invite Lars Summer since he was just here? Yes? Awesome.
Good.
Thank you.
Good. All right. Thank you, Chief.
All right. So, Council, before we start our council comments, I just want to have one thing that I would like to take a moment to recognize Planning Commissioner David Graybill. He is resigned effective the 15th of October. And it's my understanding that he's been on our commissions for many, many years. And we just wanted to say thank you. We would try and do that here in person in council chambers, but I understand he's moving out of town relatively quickly and will be unable to attend. But I would just like to take a moment and recognize his contributions to our city. So thank you. All right, and then for council comments, I will start with Councilmember Fleming, Councilmember Boykin, Councilmember McCluskey, and then myself.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. I'm going to be brief tonight because I understand throughout the land there's some very important events taking place simultaneously to this council meeting, so we'll be short. Okay. Number one, I do want to thank the Historical Society for their 25 years of service to our community in preserving the past and helping us to forge ahead to the future. They've done a phenomenal job with that. Second thing is, since I was last with the council, excuse me, attended the SHAPE meeting, we've adopted there the 2026 legislative priorities. And then we also had the opportunity to get a presentation on the development that's going into DuPont, which I thought was really both interesting and incredible. But they've got a very large parcel of property that sits on the bluff overlooking Puget Sound, where they're going to be building around the golf course out there with multifamily housing, middle housing, and single-family dwellings, along with kind of a mixed business development scattered throughout that. But it's a beautiful project. If you haven't had a chance to look at that, would recommend that one. Lastly, I had the opportunity in the last few days to be in France and to look at or to visit Normandy and then really follow the trail through World War II to the Battle of the Bulge and Bastogne. But, we've got Veterans Day coming up shortly, and it just gave me cause to pause in advance to think about all the young men that sacrificed so we could be here tonight having our meetings, and just keep that in mind as we get ready for Veterans Day. But it was very heartfelt and very sobering. But anyhow, that's all I have to share tonight. I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Let me first start off by saying thank you so much for the service that David Graybill has given our city. It's been outstanding in his leadership for the Planning Commission, and the care in which he has helped bring those actions as well as the issues forward, not just in a timely fashion, but in a way that really shapes our opportunity to be responsive as a council. I just am excited about what that next journey is, and at the same time a little melancholy because I had the opportunity to serve with him as part of his contribution to the city of University Place. So certainly wish him the very best, but surprised by the announcement, but I am confident that it is certainly in the best interest of he and his family, and he will be missed at the very least by myself. Also wanted to acknowledge the opportunity to have engaged with Mr. Sumner, who had shared his concern about some things that he was seeing as it related to just simply walking his child to school. I think that one way in which we can be responsive is making sure that when people do share with us that we position in a way where we can be clear about what the issue is and vet it to the best of our ability, and then get good information back to him as quickly as possible as just part of how we respond. So to that extent, I certainly want to acknowledge Jack Eklund's responsiveness. He did share information on email in a timely fashion that gave some opportunity to begin to move and take a look at what we may be able to do, but just appreciative of our city, our residents, leaning into every opportunity to just make sure council is aware and able to be responsive. Wanted to share with you, I had a blast at the Better Futures Luncheon. It was an opportunity to be part of a 30-year celebration for the Hilltop Artists, which is an amazing program that really positions youth over the last 3 decades to not just learn the amazing craft of glass blowing, but also the expectation of how it is that can connect and build community in and of itself as part of a very powerful way for our region to engage our youth. That was an exciting and an honor to be a part of, as they talked about the impact that they've had on youth over the last, again, 3 decades. Had an opportunity to also share at the American Leadership Forum this past weekend, where there was a really immersive experience that really strengthens leadership in the region for folks who have an intentionality about addressing our most complex community issues and challenges as it relates to education, government, healthcare, business, and the social impact, generally speaking. So I was appreciative of that. had also an opportunity to attend the 28th District Fireside Chat that was held right here in our city chambers, where it was facilitated by Senator Nobles as well as Majority Leader Pedersen and Representative Levitt. We also had other municipal council members that had been a part of it. Certainly, a huge shout out to Councilmember Grassi, who was instrumental in helping position the event as well. It was a really great way to get information directly from community and prepare the expectation for the 2026 legislative session, which, as you all know, is a short session that would be upcoming. Also had an opportunity to enjoy the ribbon cutting ceremony for the City of University Place roundabout located at 36 in Grandview. It was one of the ways in which staff and partners work together to really effectively create the change we like to see in a really timely fashion. I thought it was fantastic to have the representation that we had, obviously from the Mayor Pro Tem, other council members, Councilmember Grassi, for example, as well as Representative Levitt, who again joined us for that effort. But the most powerful thing is just knowing that as we talked about how efficiently and how quickly we were able to provide a remedy there, it just excites me about, again, being a city of destination works in infrastructure first, and it also affirms what we can do together when we recognize the power of we. I also had a chance to enjoy on the 16th, the second PSRC Regional Transportation Planning meeting. I attended the first one I shared my last report out in Puyallup, but the second was held in Tacoma at the Point Defiance Park. And it's really an opportunity to have community weigh in to how it wants to see its transportation infrastructure be impacted. And so it looks at really 5 different ways in which you can weigh in about how those experiences are touching you, whether it's roads, whether it's bicycle routes, whether it's a ferry, transit, and the expectation in terms of being able to get those experiences shared firsthand really does give PSRC an opportunity to figure out how we can best utilize what our priorities are and what their priorities are to be, and what monies might look like in terms of being able to bring those things to fruition, what actions are coming forward as a result. I also had the opportunity to join a super cool event, the SSMCP, so South Samians Military Community Partnership. Many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with that, but what this was an opportunity or a forum that was centered in healthcare, and specifically in behavioral health. And so we got an opportunity to hear those impacts as it related to the military community, but it was a very wonderful presentation of how those particular issues around behavioral health as it relates to the military community, how it also has the touch point and the expectation of the benefit to the greater surrounding community, with the military community obviously being the core group. And so those opportunities, I think, help us, again, be better as a council, be better in terms of the relationships that we make to make our region impact that runs through the City of University Place that much more appreciated and that much more effective. And then lastly, just had an opportunity tonight to drop in and support Representative Levitt's annual October Fest Blast. And so the really good thing is I did get some opportunity to see a little bit of the Mariners game in that regard. And so I hope that they are continuing to move forward. So that's my report, Mayor Pro Tem, and thanks so much for giving me an opportunity to do so.
Thank you. Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. On October 16th, I attended the PCRC meeting, and a presenter for the Pacific Northwest Vets Association, Josh Wilden, did a report. to that body. Also, Jason Guthier for SHAPE, the Affordable Housing, did an update, shared a little bit about the legislative priorities and capital budget and some of the capital funding in that organization. So in 2 short years, he has done an amazing job with the report. Hopefully he'll come to council and give this report, because I can't give all the details of this report and make it really that concise or as exciting as he could. So maybe an invite to Jason would be warranted. That would be great. Also in the PCRC meeting, we talked about the swap in the urban growth. They want to switch it from a bank concept to a concept where if you want to do any decrease or increase in your urban growth area, you'll need to partner with another city, so that at that point of that transaction, there will be no net gain, and then it will need to come before the PCRC to approve. So it's where before you didn't have to have another city, you could just put it in the bank. The bank grows or the bank diminishes, but now they want to do away with the bank draw. Talked a little bit more about our 2025 legislative agenda, and that should be finalized and up for vote for our next meeting. Dance Theater Northwest had a beautiful showcase last Saturday in our atrium, so thank you to the city staff who made that possible. It turned out really wonderful from what I hear. Unfortunately, I had COVID, so I couldn't go, but I heard it was great. So good compliments back to our staff. Also, Dance Theater Northwest, Nutcrackers tickets are on sale for their December 13th and 14th performances. At Mount Tahoma High School, you get them early, get a slight discount in the price. It's a great, grassroots, well orchestrated, beautifully done program. It's my family tradition every year to go see that. There will be an upcoming Up for Art concert, like I mentioned last council, November 8th at 7 p.m. in the atrium with an artist reception. So some high-end musicians will come to UP in the heart of our downtown city, and so hopefully you'll take the opportunity to enjoy that venue. Also like to give a shout out and a thank you to Mr. Graybill for his longtime service on our planning commission. I wish him well in his next adventure. We will certainly miss him in UP. Also, thanks to Mr. Summers to bringing that to council's attention, not only through email, but also at public comment tonight. And I'm excited and looking forward to seeing some sort of resolution for that, especially since it's abutting the school district. So thank you for your community activism in that direction. And on a sad note, Greg Gooch, our former longtime Park and Rec Commissioner, has passed away.
What?
He passed away last week. He was a community servant, my friend, that was involved with the UP Veterans Plaza and other organization committees, for example, the UP Festival for a few years. His passion and love for our community will be dearly missed. He was also, outside of the city, deeply involved with helping youth at Raymond Hall, as well as those that were homeless. So he made a large impact in his life, and like I said, he will be dearly missed. And that's the end of my report. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Councilmember. So for my report, we just heard about Greg Gooch, and he will be missed. He's definitely a driving force in this community for many things. So for the rest of my report, let's see. I got to go to the grand opening of the landing at Chambers Bay. which is a really neat facility down there if you haven't had a chance to visit it yet. It's, in a way, well camouflaged. It's got a roof that has ecological roof that can like drain water. I don't know exactly what it does, but it looks really cool. So anyway, that's a good building, new one down there. Right after that, I went and stopped by UP Oktoberfest for a little bit just to see how it was going. And it was actually very well attended, and seemed like people were having a lot of fun. Also at the roundabout ribbon cutting with other members of council and Representative Levitt. And again, the thing I wanted to say about that one is that's what happens when community members come forward to talk about safety issues in our community, is if we can make a difference and try and fix it, we will. And so it started with a letter to council about 2.5 years ago, and has turned into a roundabout which will help keep traffic slow going down Grandview, and so for people going to and from the junior high there. So I think that's going to be a great addition to our community and for community safety. And with that, with Mr. Summers coming in here tonight, we'll see where that leads. So thank you. And then finally, Friday, I had the honor, along with the mayor, of representing the city at the Joint Services Ball, where we had an opportunity to recognize all the branches of the military service, thank them for their contributions, and just spend some time talking with the leaders in that community. So that was a great opportunity and a good time. And I really feel like I'm missing something, but since I didn't write it down, I will spare you all. So that concludes council comments and reports. We'll now move to the study session. Item number 10. The first item is the 2025 second quarter financial report with Leslie Blaisdell, our finance director, doing the staff report.
Good evening. Tonight I'm here to present the second quarter financial report. So our overall, the city's second quarter general government revenues came in 6.01% above budget estimates, and expenditures are below budget estimates by 20.41%. If we move on to page number 3, this gives you a breakdown of our ongoing operating revenues. General sales tax revenues are 4.79% above budget estimates, and the parks sales tax is coming in at 3.9% above budget estimates. Later on in the report, we get into a little bit more detail on sales tax. Utility tax is 9.95% above our budget estimates, which is a positive variance of about $237,000. Admissions tax revenues are 11.85% above budget estimates. This variance is not unexpected, as a significant portion of our admission taxes typically generated during the spring and summer months, so that one should even out a bit before year end. Real estate excise taxes are 16% above our estimates. As you know, we saw a dip the last couple years, and those so we did reduce our estimates, but fortunately they're bouncing back just a little bit. And our investment interest revenues continue to perform strongly. They are exceeding our estimates by 20.95%. As you know, a good portion of what we have invested is that ARPA money and those sewer projects. We still haven't expended all of that, so that's still in there earning some interest. So that's helping us out. Before I move on, did anyone have any questions about any specific revenues that I may not have touched on?
All right, seeing none, go ahead.
Okay. As I said earlier, our expenditures are 20.41% below budget. Much of that is timing. While there are savings in many departments, you'll notice like the city manager's office is 31% down. The community events budget is in that city manager budget, and our 3 largest events happen in the third quarter: 30th birthday, Oktoberfest, and then in the fourth quarter our tree lighting. So that will come in a little bit closer to budget by the time we get to year end. Additionally, Public Works is showing below budget by about 40%. The largest piece of that is our pavement maintenance. The chip sealing and all of those things have happened this summer, and we haven't gotten those bills yet. So just to give a little clarification on what those variances are. Page 5.
Sorry, just a quick question before we move on.
You bet.
Just to clarify, when you do your quarterly estimates, are you just basically taking the annual budget and dividing it equally by 4?
Yeah.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Everything's so cyclical, I would need a massive program to divide it up by each one and when they come in. And so.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Go ahead.
Okay, page number 5 is our police and public safety revenues. The police budget is revenues are 5.29% above estimates, and the expenditures are 14.56% below estimates. Again, some of that is timing. For instance, in the police budget, we only have 5 months of the contract billings that were received, so there's one more hanging out there for that second quarter. I will point out that our jail budget, if you look, it's the very last line of that spreadsheet. We went through back in 2022, only about 12,000. That is coming back and will most likely exceed our budget estimate for this year. So we are getting that back to more normal levels of costs for that. But we also, our court fees are higher than normal. So more jail also expense also leads to more court revenues. So that out. Any questions on police? Anything?
Okay, hearing none.
Okay. Page number 6 is our Development Services Fund revenues and expenses. Revenues are below budget by 21.72%, and expenditures are 16.34% below budget. As I've explained in past meetings, the department does their best to project what the revenues are, what projects are out there, and when things may come in. But until they come in, we just don't know. Sometimes most are pushed out to another year, and so these revenues are their best estimates. And the savings on the expenditure side, we've got some professional services, some projects that the monies are not yet expended. So. Okay. Page number 7.
Sorry, we have a question, Councilwoman Boykin.
I do, and it's just simply based upon your affirmation, Ms. Blaisdell, about the expectation of how we should respond, if you will, to the budget projections as they've been. I just want to affirm that there isn't anything, though, that we should be alarmed about or concerned about, nothing that we should be leaning into. You're very humble, but I know it's more than just a casual opinion that brings about these budget projections and data in front of us. And so I wanted to affirm that for myself, but as long as you're telling me I shouldn't pay any more attention, I think I'm good. So thank you so much.
Okay.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Page number 7, we get into a little bit more detail on the individual revenues. We start with sales tax. As I stated before, sales tax is 4.79% above our budget estimates. So this just shows you a little bit of a breakdown by month and by category. Retail trade is pretty much flat, 1.6% above compared to last year. Services is up. Construction is still, it's doing better than last year, so it's 16% higher than the same time frame last year. Page number 8, we've got the details on real estate excise tax. It is exceeding our budget estimates by 16.14%, but it is a 26% decrease compared to the amount collected in the second quarter of 2024. But again, I want to remind everyone that last year we had some of those revenues were driven by a one-time high investment sale of an apartment complex. So it's a little bit skewed there with that one-time large payment. And as you know, real estate excise tax is dedicated to capital construction, and we don't appropriate that until we have the money in the bank. So,
Right.
state shared revenues on page number 9, they are tracking pretty well at 0.54% above budget. So I don't know if I can get much closer on that one. Liquor profits are exceeding by 1.16. Liquor excise taxes slightly down, 2.93%. Leasehold excise tax is up 29.3%. Fuel tax is 6.18% below budget. City assistance, that's 9.84% above budget. That's the one the state gives us an amount and says, you might get it, you might not. So I tend to under project on that one, so we're good. And then our criminal justice sales taxes, 1.71% for the local criminal justice, and then the other criminal justice funding is 4.69% above budget.
Okay. We have a question, Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Leslie, on that city assistance, what exactly does that mean?
It came from one of the cuts many years ago. I don't have the specific language locked into my brain. I can get you more details on what that is. It's just an amount from one of the cuts the state did many years ago, and it's an amount that's distributed between cities. And so I can get you details on that.
Are there any strings attached to that, or is it just general fund money? Or?
General fund money.
Okay. Yeah, please, if you would.
You bet.
Okay, go on.
Utility tax on page number 10. It is 9.9% above our second quarter budget estimates. Natural gas taxes are 39.29%. This one is another one that will level out as gas use is impacted by the weather. So there's a higher use in the winter months, so that first quarter brings in a bit more, and then it kicks back in late December. The garbage solid waste is up 1.19%, and cable television is 3% below estimates. Cell phone revenues are exceeding budget estimates by 7.93%, and telephone taxes 1.42%. As you know, those are ones we watch closely. Telephone tax as people get rid of their landlines, and we're keeping an eye on the cable television taxes as people are ditching cable for streaming services. But right now it's about 3% off of our estimates. Franchise fees are another one that's very close to our estimates, 0.97% above estimates, with all of them. Sewer is exceeding by 6.51%, and the rest are pretty much almost dead on. So.
Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Leslie, on the cable, you know, as the population continues to migrate, and you're looking at the younger generation, though that cable franchise fee or the monies generated from that are going to continue to decline.
I believe they are.
Yeah, so is there a point in which we need to make an adjustment in our budget where we either just kind of write that out and consider it gravy, or do something different for accounting so we're not showing this continued negative revenue for the expectations as time goes on? First question. My second question is, you know, we've got that. I believe there's a tax on phones. Was that for landlines or cell phones? But if it's on the landline side, that also continues to decline. And again, do we need to start considering a different way of accounting for those funds, since they're going to be a negative to projections always, at least going forward?
Right now, when I do the forecasting on both of those, I have my forecast decreasing those revenues every year rather than increasing like most other revenues, just to make sure that we're not over projecting revenues that I know we're not going to get.
Right.
So
we shouldn't even count on it.
Right. I do have that in the forecast so that we are monitoring it. Right now, we seem to have the last 2 years leveled off, you know, coming pretty close on those, on our projections. But again, it's when we monitor it very closely to see where we're going.
Thank you.
have a quick follow-on question with that. Just with cable services, is the tax applied directly just to the cable package or to the whole cable bill? For example, people are using cable to support their streaming, but they're not using, to support their internet service.
They're using internet to support their streaming.
Right.
And we cannot collect a tax on internet.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah. Now, we have seen it level off a bit. I know people, jumped ship for streaming services and then realized, as you've seen a trend now instead of paying one cable bill, you've got 5 or 6 streaming bills, and people are realizing that those combined are adding up to what they were paying in cable before. So we're seeing a bit of a level off on that. But, yeah.
Okay.
As everybody adds streaming services and costs.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, you bet. Our TBD fees are 23% below our budget estimates. As you look at the numbers provided, 2021 was much higher. I just want to remind you that that was the year that we did a mid-year reduction in the TBD rate. It went from $35 to $10. So that's the last year we were up at that 35. And again, in just about a year ago, the council approved a resolution to increase the TBD fee incrementally. So we had a $10 increase in 25. The next increase will be in 27. And those fluctuate month to month because it's charged in the month that you purchase the car. So if you used to pay it in January and then you traded your car in May, you start paying it in May. So page number 12 is our CIP funds. Just an update of all the projects. It is a long list. I'm having a hard time squeezing it on one page. I may have to break it up into 2 here pretty soon. Keeping our engineering and parks people incredibly busy. So that just is an update on where those are and what's going on. Page 13 is just the miscellaneous data that we always provide for your information as well as our citizens. And with that, I conclude my report unless there's any more questions.
Okay, I'll just go around, starting with Councilmember McCluskey this time. Do you have any questions?
Thank you, Leslie, for your comprehensive report. I did review it. Unfortunately, my interface does not allow to have that, your document pop up in a readable format. I also, on the side, it's a minor note. It was your insurance recoveries and penalties and fees. I know it's minimal and nominal, maybe 70 grand at the most, but you're up like almost 100% where we had budgeted. So I'm hopeful that maybe next year will be even 600% over what we have, because those recoveries are not always known until we actually get them. So thank you for pursuing those and getting at least some monies in return for some of the recoveries for losses in our city. And that's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Boykin, do you have any comments you'd like to make?
No, Mayor Pro Tem. Excellent report as always. Thank you so much. Really appreciate the comprehensive information.
Councilmember Fleming.
Just real brief, Mayor Pro Tem. Leslie, as always, but I know we take it for granted up here at the dais sometimes, but just thanks for a great job that you do. I just mean that sincerely. Looking at, the numbers, looking at the projections, it's interesting when I sit at PCRC or at SHAPE in other meetings with other electeds in the county. I listen to the woes of the cities because they're actually operating, many of them, in a deficit right now. I just kind of sit there and go, wow, I'm just grateful for our city and for what you do there to keep us, accountable, keep us balanced in the black. To the citizens that listen, knowing that their money is really going for what it's intended for and not for anything else. And the accountability is awesome. So appreciate it immensely. Thank you.
And I will just echo that comment. I just really appreciate what you do. And like with Councilmember Fleming, when I'm in these other meetings with other city leaders from around the state, so many of them are complaining about their budgets or their lack thereof. And just knowing that you're here managing out what we do conservatively, but still, like Councilmember Fleming said, we know the money is going where it was intended to go. So thank you.
Thank you.
And okay, so that is item number 10. So item number 11, zoning code amendments. Kevin Brisky, our Community and Economic Development Director, will do the staff report along with Kenneth George, our Planning Manager.
Good evening, Mayor Pro Tem, City Council members. Kevin Brisky with the Community and Economic Development Department, here with Kenneth George as well. Mr. George is going to go over the PowerPoint that we've prepared, about eight or so slides to go over some of these, the kind of the main larger amendments associated with this, but I'll just give a brief overview of it. In general, this is zoning and critical area amendments to bring our zoning code and critical areas code into compliance with the city's comprehensive plan. As you remember, back in 2020, at the end of last year, the City Council adopted the comprehensive plan, which was part of the required 8-year mandatory update by the Growth Management Act. And then PSRC certified that in, I believe it was around March of this year. However, they kind of give you essentially till the end of that year to ensure, which is 2025, to bring your codes into compliance with the changes that were made. Some of these changes have already been made, including the missing middle amendments that were passed. Some of those changes. So these were a lot of some cleanup things, but also some things associated with some state legislation, most namely House Bill 1220, which required us to add some definitions for things in here regarding types of what's called step housing, and we'll go into that in a second. But just to let you know, the Planning Commission had thorough reviews of all these changes over the course of 6 meetings, starting in the springtime, I believe, and then the most recent meeting, that 6th meeting, was a public hearing on the proposed amendments, and passed a resolution making a recommendation to the City Council for adoption of the proposed amendments. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. George, and he can start this. And there's a break in here, so we'll be able to open it up for questions after we go over some of the definitions before going on to the second part of the PowerPoint.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem and council members. And thank you, Director Brisky, for that introduction, which kind of covers, if we keep which covers our first slide. So we could move on from that. It's just the legal requirement or framework, as Director Bridges, this is under the Growth Management Act. I'll mention that in an ideal scenario, we could have done all of this at the exact same time as our comprehensive plan. That'd be the ideal situation, but due to limitations in staff and consultant capacity, we had to take it in chunks. So we updated the comprehensive plan last year, and as Director Brisky said, this is to update the zoning, the development regulations and our critical areas and our actual development codes.
All right, we have a quick question. Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you. 2 things real quick. One, just so we can see it here at the desk, is there a way to rotate that screen just a hair? And then my second one is more comical, and that is we need to learn how to spell requirements. But short of that, I think we're doing okay. Thank you.
Probably a repeated slide and first time caught. So congratulations.
Change fast.
Thank you.
Yes. And again, where we're at, this was covered by Director Brisky. And then a little quick correction there. As he said, there was actually 4 meetings, or 6 total meetings, not 4 as stated here. Then we go to the next one. All right. Now onto the meat of everything. There's would have, just like with the update of the comprehensive plan, there's a lot of little pieces that were changed throughout it, and when presenting, it was more of those high-level things of what we're updating. So similar to this, the Planning Commission did do a thorough review in looking at every single code amendment, but overall, the key amendments are we're doing this to bring our zoning codes up to consistency with our comprehensive plan and recently adopted, some of the recently adopted ones. We did the work of the comprehensive plan all of 2022 and 2023 and completing that in 2024. So there were some state legislative changes done in that time that didn't quite make it in, and so we squeezed a little bit of that in there. And one of the bigger ones, House Bill 1220 is I believe passed in 2021. That was our bigger change in our housing element that required not only required jurisdictions to plan for housing and growth, and we were given our adopted growth targets for that, but to plan for and accommodate those. And we had a lot more requirements in our housing element that were adopted. One of those things was to add in definitions specific for what Commerce, through all the legislative, I termed step housing, and I'll get into those definitions and the changes there. And we have a specific slide on that one. And a little bit on parking, but nothing too scary here. These were some of the older state legislative changes on parking. This one's specific to senior housing and people with disabilities. And it was, as we already had parking standards in our code for it. One of the state legislative changes in these House bills removed transit, because that's a big change that's been happening a lot, is when development is adjacent to transit, a major transit or transit stops, and then each one has its own definition. So we added in the definition of transit stop, which is a bus stop for 15 minutes, and if that's within a mile of senior housing or housing for disabilities, people with disabilities, then we wouldn't require parking for those. And that was the simple change there, just making sure that we added those definitions. I don't have a separate slide for this one, but it was one to kind of pull out and highlight. The next one would be going on to step housing, but if we have any questions, this would be a good spot.
Just to clarify real quick, on the parking standards one. So if I heard you correctly, the state law is now, if the senior housing is within a mile of a transit stop, we can't require parking. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. That's correct.
Okay, and how many seniors are walking a mile? Okay, never mind. I was just an editorial comment, but I got it. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Councilmember Fleming.
Okay. A lot of seniors walk a mile. Not a lot, but a few.
Right.
On our parking standards, since this might be a place to jump in on this one, for our disability parking, do we charge for that here in our town center? Do we have parking meters on that? Perfect. Because I just got a letter from the state saying we can't do that. So I just want to make sure we're in compliance. All right, thank you.
All right, go ahead. Councilmember McCluskey, by the way, I can't see you on the screen, so if you could make sure you raise your hand if you got something, and then our deputy clerk will make sure to let me know if you have a comment.
Okay, yeah, will do. Thank you.
All right, and this is the only slide that we have here, but it was one, again, to pull out and highlight a change due to House Bill 1220. The state legislative changes in all these RCWs. This little colorful slide was taken straight out of some of Washington State Department of Commerce guidance on some of the step housing. And so, but there's 4 different housing types under the step housing category: emergency shelters, transitional housing, emergency housing, and permanent supportive housing. Each of those having their own separate definitions and separate sections of the RCW, Revised Code of Washington. So Under House Bill 1220, we're required to allow these. In some respects, some of these we didn't prohibit initially anyway. For example, emergency shelters, that could include day and warming centers and things for those kind of accommodations. I believe we've done that in the past, opened up places at City Hall for that. So it's the state's, this bill was to make it more obvious and make sure that cities had these definitions in it. So the state created these definitions, which weren't there before, and were required that cities can't prohibit these in our zoning codes. There's a little bit of a difference on some of these and where we can't prohibit them. And so I'll go through the emergency ones first. Emergency shelter and emergency housing. And emergency shelter, you could think of that as just the shelters, beds, a building with multiple beds in it. Emergency housing, that could be an actual unit, or in a single family home, or in an apartment, or something like that. Or that could also be in some jurisdictions, they could use hotels and convert those hotel units into emergency housing. It just sets some examples. So emergency housing is different. We must allow those in any zone where hotels are allowed, and that's it. So any zone that we currently allow for hotels, that's where we would have to allow. We can't prohibit emergency shelters, emergency housing. So those would be all of our zones in our regional growth center, and for outside the regional growth center, that's our neighborhood commercial, mixed use, and mixed use maritime zones. For transitional housing and permanent supportive housing, those we have to allow in any zone that allows for residential. So any zone that for going through our zoning code, all of our low density R1 and R2 zones allow for residential, so that triggers transitional and permanent supportive housing. And all of our mixed use zones now allow residential, so those also would allow for transitional and permanent supportive housing. The only zone that doesn't is our open space and parks zone. In the permanent supportive housing, one of the things with that one is that's very similar to subsidized housing under these definitions. I'm not going to read all the definitions for you here, but that one in itself is just very similar to subsidized housing. But some of the guidance and the language around this is it's a lower barrier than it's another another source of allowing for affordable housing. But under this definition, it's a little bit less of a barrier than what other affordable housing has been in the past. And I think that's a good place to stop.
Oh, question for you, Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem, and thank you for that presentation thus far. Could you give us an example of transitional housing?
Yeah, so I'll go, I know it's really hard to read. So transitional housing is a project that provides housing and support services for up to 2 years, no longer, or longer, for individuals or families who are experiencing homelessness. The purpose of transitional housing is to facilitate the movement of people from homelessness to permanent housing. And when you do actually read through a lot of these definitions, you actually see that moving people experiencing or in danger of experiencing homelessness, and that's one of the things that this is really geared towards. So transitional housing could be just about any house. It could be just a regular apartment type building that has a housing. It could be in a single family home as well, and it's pretty much any housing type.
Okay, so with that said, are there provisions in that prohibit? I know last year we had quite a discussion on sexual predators / sexual offenders. Do we have any exceptions made or prohibitions made for that accommodation or requirement?
Not in this package of amendments at this time. It wasn't one that was kind of identified when we did this study. With these. With the step housing, we were also limited to what sort of regulations we can impose, and I'll have to find the language exactly but we can impose some regulations provided that it doesn't decrease our required housing number, or in our zone, not our zoning code, our comprehensive plan housing needs. We can't impose any regulations that would decrease what our housing targets are for these units, and then we can't also, but we can impose regulations for public safety. So that's what I wanted to say.
Okay, so with that said, I would request, and certainly it's up to 6 other members, but I would request that we take a very close look at that, and where possible, write into our ordinances exceptions for those particular cases, so that we're not bumping up against having those individuals living in communities where we have children or schools or other targets, if you will, of opportunities. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does make sense.
Okay.
And these are, this type of housing is, there still is definitions for like level 2 group homes and things which are completely different than this type of housing. So I was trying to think of examples of this myself, because I figured we'd get questions on it, and it was tough to come up with an example of transitional housing because we haven't had a lot of that even ever proposed in the city. But I could see it as an example of a single family house that maybe a nonprofit owns, and they let somebody experiencing homelessness live there for up to 2 years. As simple as that. It's or it could be some maybe even some apartment units where that's occurring.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just kind of at that level, which is a little different than like the permanent supportive housing, which is more of just a like affordable housing in general, is what that is.
No, I can very easily see where those examples you're citing are possible in our community, but I can see individuals who fall into those categories that I just mentioned falling into this category and then qualifying for housing, and that's not the direction we want to go as a community. Now, there's others who may agree or disagree with that, but that's how I feel.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Was there any further questions on this type, on these housing types? Because with that, we're going to go into the critical areas section.
I think we're good. Councilman McCluskey, I can't see. Do you have anything? All right.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Now that you noted me, I wanted to follow up on Councilmember Fleming's comments. I would probably defer to Matt Kaiser as our guidance going along these lines to see what we can do to protect the public safety in our community with transitional housing and who's housed and, who we don't house. So I would defer to his guidance on that before I, venture into that field.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we can look into that. There may be a state preemption issue, particularly with the user type that Councilmember Fleming described. But we can certainly look into that.
I would appreciate that.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, so moving on to, we break them out into development regulations, which are zoning code, and critical areas ordinance. That's just how growth management also specifies updating, doing the periodic update process. So under critical, and it's a different title as well. Title 17 is our critical areas ordinance, and our requirements here, when we look at our critical areas ordinance, is to use best available science, and that's something that the that's defined, and the process that jurisdictions use, and that means looking at all of the available scientific resources and information available. Thankfully, we have a great city, a jurisdiction and state that our agency partners do a lot. They know this update cycle is happening. They know all of the cities and counties are updating, so they pump out a lot of resources that are available, and we utilize a lot of their resources for best available science. So that's Washington State Fish and Wildlife, that's ecology, and a lot of other agencies. And so we went through and updated our Title 17 in accordance with best available science, and updated some definitions per the revised Code of Washington and the Washington Administrative Code to make sure that our titles for our critical areas and our definitions are all consistent with, so there were some minor changes there. There's two not as minor changes that we wanted to highlight too. One in the Fish and Wildlife chapter and one in the Wetlands chapter. And so I have, the next couple of slides will just be going over those changes specific. And go and see. We'll start with wetlands here, which is a little bit of an easier one. There was more of a minor change, but it did take some explaining, especially with the Planning Commission, to kind of understand. This table that you're looking at right here is our buffer, wetland buffer table. So when there's a wetland, there's a project adjacent to a wetland, they get a wetland biologist to categorize that wetland, and they, along with that categorization, which they utilize the Department of Ecology's wetland rating forms, they also rate the habitat scoring. And in that habitat, so you could have a category, 1, 2, or 3, or 4 wetland, but then the buffer widths would be based further on the habitat scoring from those rating forms that the biologists use from ecology. And this table in and of itself is copied from, largely copied from Ecology's guidance and their best available science. So they use all of their resources to say, these are what we recommend jurisdictions adopt for their buffers. And so there wasn't any changes at all to them. All the buffers that were previously adopted and ours were consistent with previous updates were the same. The only change that they made was they removed that habitat scoring from the habitat scoring of 5 and folded it into the habitat scoring from 3 to 4. And so that did change some of the buffer widths for that scoring, just basically eliminated that column. And they did that based on their scientific review and research. And one of the bigger things was there wasn't much of a difference between those two scorings, and they had a lot of comments from jurisdictions over the number of years since the last periodic update. So that's the only one we wanted to highlight here, because it does end up changing some of the buffers for wetlands.
Okay, I have a quick question for you on that. How do you define a low habitat versus high habitat? What makes a place low habitat versus high habitat?
Well, that's I'm not sure if I'm prepared to quite answer that, because it's in the scoring. So the Ecology has this whole wetland rating score, and in that they look at the habitat that's there, and if they see a particular habitat, not sure if that's a deer or a plant life or things like that, then they'll add it to their scoring, and then they total it at the end. And if they see multiple items, then you get a higher score, and that's what happens. If they don't see those features in that wetland system, then it ends up scoring much lower. That makes sense.
So by features, are you talking like species? Are you talking...
Yeah, I'd say it's a combination of plants and wildlife.
Okay.
In the type of soils, and they have these scoring sheets, and they produce them, and we review them in-house, but we have an outside consultant. So when the city gets a wetland report, since we don't have a staff wetland biologist, we send it out to our consultant to review and confer with their determination. The one that surprised me on this, if you take a look at this is most of the wetlands we see in the city are Category 3s. That's the most common one I've seen over the years. And then they tend to usually, most of those have always scored in the 3 to 4 range with a 60-foot buffer. That's the most common one I've seen. We have a few Category 2s. I've never seen a Category 1. The Category 2s are down off of Leech Creek, off Orchard, in that really large area. Mm-hmm. And I found this unique because they actually reduced the buffer on these. If you look at this, by eliminating Category 5 or the scoring of 5 and combining it with the 3 to 5, you're reducing the buffer from 105 to the lower buffer in certain areas, which was interesting. Normally you see it go the other direction. Right. When we're amending things in best available science, usually these things enlarge, but in this case it shrank that buffer. However, I can't recall a time I've seen a scoring of 5 anyway. I've always seen the scoring of 3 to 4 anyway, so that's been the most common that we've seen in the city.
All right. Councilmember Fleming.
So Kevin, with that said, the state sets the base on what we can or can't do, but is there any prohibition in this legislation that says cities can be more restrictive than what the law is, or is it less restrictive?
More restrictive meaning, can we adopt larger buffers?
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably get into a little bit of I guess, opinion here, and the city attorney might weigh in a little bit. But
he's smiling, so I know he's got an opinion there.
Once what you would run the risk of is being out of compliance of using best available science and then lawsuits. Mm-hmm. So you have to be able to back up why you made that justification, saying you're using best available science. And we're relying on the state's best available science to establish these buffers. So if we wanted something more, we would have to try to come up with our own best available science that justified that increase. And vice versa, if you wanted to be less restrictive, you better be able to back it up with best available science. Otherwise, you would open yourself up to...
Yeah, I mean, that all makes sense. I just, in the past, the state has, in other areas, the state sets, this is what the minimum standard is, but you can be more restrictive in other areas. I was wondering if that same principle applies to setting up these buffers. If University Place said, hey, we want bigger buffers, we want more vegetation, we want to protect more wildlife in our community, do we have that latitude to do that, or are we just strictly by the book with what we're seeing?
Yeah, I would say you would have to still back it up with best available science to go with the larger buffers. Mm-hmm. And I think that in my mind, the critical areas ordinances are a little bit different on the way the state, sets their guidelines compared to, let's say, a setback, where you have a lot of latitude as a city council on what you want to require a house to be set back from a side property line or a rear property line. So they do, in your mind, in certain sections of codes, give you that latitude. It's a little bit different, I'd say, in the critical areas where it is based more on just best available science overall, and it applies more broadly across our region.
Okay. I mean, I know exempted from this is shoreline. Shoreline has concrete setbacks and buffers, and there's nothing you're going to do to get around that. But I was wondering in other areas if we had those latitudes. But what I hear you saying is, yeah, but you got to back it with the evidence. Is that right? Okay.
Did I state that? Okay, thanks.
Was that on the record? No.
Okay. All right, go ahead. If there's no further questions on the wetlands, we'll go to the next one, which is stream buffers. And now this one where I talked about how they were slightly reduced a buffer here, they increased some buffers. So I'll let Kenneth talk about the stream buffers.
And this is a point where it would be nice if I was a habitat bio, or an environmental planner. So again, we have the first ones, wetlands. There's stream buffers. Those are under our Fish and Wildlife Habitat Conservation. So with wetlands, our agency resource is Department of Ecology. For stream buffers, our resource is the Department of Fish and Wildlife. And we made a couple of changes in there. There's actually a few, but this is the big one that really ends up. They did end up making a pretty significant change to how they recommend buffers. And the old method, you'll see that we're proposing sort of a hybrid version of it. The old method was a standard buffer, and they would provide us with a standard buffer. Those were based on the type of stream. So there's various types of streams, all defined in state code, and each stream progressively gets more, higher category, and it would be a larger buffer, and they would have these prescriptive buffers. This is what we have now. So if you were, in Chambers Creek, it's a type S because it's connected to the shoreline, and that would have our largest buffer, and then you go further down the line to the lower category of streams. Fish and Wildlife now is recommending to completely go away with that concept of standard buffers, and instead to adopt a new methodology that they're referring to as a site potential tree height methodology, or SPTH, and there's another 200 acronym in there, but it's for the purpose of this, it's not in there. It's a new tool for determining riparian buffer widths, and it is based on the expected mature height of a 200-year-old tree, a potential tree that reaches a mature height at 200. That's why they refer to that. That's 200. And this is their science-based method rather than just a standard one-size-fits-all. You're along this creek. Here's your buffer, and it is a science-based approach recommended in their almost over 300-page best available science reports, as well as a supplemental 100-page document specific for jurisdictions on how they recommend us implementing this. Through review and everything, we are proposing a little bit of a hybrid version of this, in which we retain our standard buffers, and we add in an option for this site potential tree height. And what that would mean was, obviously, for Chambers Creek, it's 200. It's the same buffer width, so it wouldn't matter. But you would have a property would have along the creek, and they'd be doing a project there. And rather than just going to the chart and saying, or they would go to the chart and say the standard buffer, and then they could do a site potential tree height. So they would hire a biologist, habitat specialist, and look at their site. It gets a little bit more complicated. Maybe I'm going a little bit too over the top on what the process is, but the tree, it's the dominant tree species, and for University Place, it's mostly Douglas fir. So it's what is the height, the potential tree height, and if that tree were to fall over, that's the buffer basically, and what they'd like to be calling a riparian management zone. And so the study that we'd have, Fish and Wildlife is heavily recommending that the minimum would be 100 feet. But they could do this site potential tree height study, and that could actually end up potentially reducing it. They're heavily on the minimum being for pollution control and other water quality standards that distance. So in the wetlands example, we're seeing smaller buffers, but as Director Brisky said, typically the buffers got larger, and in this case, this is what Fish and Wildlife is recommending.
Councilmember Boykin.
Thank you very much, Mayor Pro Tem. I've got several questions, just trying to make sure that I've got my own clarity. Kenneth, so thank you. I appreciate you indulging me. So let me just start off with the standard buffer. The expectation, that's proximity of the stream to the shoreline. Is that correct?
Yeah, it would be, so if there's a stream, so in Leech Creek, you would have a stream bank, and they would have a specialist determine what we would call the ordinary high water mark, or where that is. That begins the regulatory line that you would measure from to reach your buffer.
Right, and that's what we deploy now. What's been recommended with this second method is essentially looking at a site potential and tree height, which would, if we follow what has been offered thus far, would be in a complete abandonment to the current standard buffer interpretation that we've been using. And what you're proposing is a hybrid between the two. So I wanted to make sure I understood what the advantage is of the hybrid, and relative to our consultants, using that term loosely, has there been an opinion about the hybrid proposal that you're alluding to based upon any consultant or third-party opinion at this point?
We didn't end up having a consultant or any consultant to help with this review, relying on Fish and Wildlife. So we did meet with Fish and Wildlife. They are very available. They've provided lots of documents to kind of help work through this. And so, but due to, I didn't meet with them, and we talked about this, but they haven't been available due to scheduling conflicts in order to follow up on this concept. But I would note that in our research through this, there are a few jurisdictions that do have specific language on this hybrid version. So I've gone to some number of jurisdictions who've adopted this, and there's a few that have deleted that table altogether and just said, here's your method for determining the buffer. And there's a few that still keep the standard buffers, maybe based on a comfort level of change, but then offering a different option as an alternative.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that at least what I was hearing and what we get an opportunity to consider and weigh in. I think that the outstanding work of all our commissions ought at the very least be in front of us and clearly understood, so that when we're weighing in for our decision, we've got good information, but also clarity about process. And if there is a scenario where this hybrid expectation can go forward, as you've helped me understand it, we still have that in-house in terms of our own clarification, what we might do. I presume that you can still articulate the reason why it's preferable to have the hybrid scenario as opposed to moving in with just this second sub-planning methodology for site potential with tree height. So if you can just share that comment with me so that I'm clear with that, then that would conclude my inquiry, Mayor Pro Tem.
I was going to mention the Planning Commission's review of it.
I think with the hybrid, it's kind of nice because it allows people who have property along there, they can just look and see, all right, I have this buffer. Mm-hmm. And it's simple. However, if they want to potentially reduce that buffer or modify that buffer, then they have the option of doing the site potential tree height analysis, hire a consultant, and go through that step.
Okay.
Whereas if you don't have these charts in here, then every time you're wanting to develop along a stream, you would have to go and do the potential tree height analysis.
It could be more burdensome to our residents and citizens that are looking for appropriately buffer specificity, as well as the expectation if we were doing something different. Again, you've got the expectation in being in compliance that may be more of a burdensome scenario in going forward. To me, that makes sense. I don't want to put any words in anybody's mouth, but just want to be clear that the hybrid scenario, as it offers some benefit, that we also share that for record. And if there is a situation that would give us pause for whatever reason, want to make sure that that's part of the record as well. So thank you so much. I appreciate you both. That's all I have, Mayor Pro Tem.
All right, thank you. Councilmember Fleming.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. On your list up there, you list non-listed creeks type ends. Can you give us an example in UP of what that is?
It is a creek that we are unaware of.
What does that mean?
I have not, in 25 years here, have not come across a non-listed creek in the city. We're a small enough jurisdiction that our creeks are well known. The small ones we have, Crystal and Day are kind of smaller ones, and then we have the larger ones, Leech and Chambers are the main ones. But there could be something out there. A lot of times it would be something probably associated with a wetland, where someone does a wetland report and they find a non-listed creek on the property, and then the buffer would kick in. I'm not seeing that happen, but there could be one out there, so we have to have at least a classification for it.
Okay. Interesting. All right.
Okay. Go ahead.
If there's no more questions on the stream buffers, then we're just going to go into next steps.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that concludes. Those are all of the high level and the ones that we wanted to pull out. There are still a number of code in the strike-through underlined version that's been provided to you in your council packet. The next, our expectation, or as my understanding, is that the next time this would come before the council would be December 3rd, and that would be for anticipated for action. And it's the 1st. Sorry, that's my error there. So it'd be December 1st would be the next council meeting. And then just a reminder that the deadline to adopt these would be December 1st of this year.
Okay, and this deadline that's a state-imposed deadline?
Yeah, that's the state deadline for a periodic update.
Got it. Okay. We'll go around for any further questions. Councilmember McCluskey.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem. Well, I thought it was going to be a longer report than that from the document that I saw in the packet. A couple things. The definition of cannabis versus marijuana. They described the marijuana as something that's discriminatory, and so they wanted to replace it with define it as cannabis. Doesn't that broaden the scope of marijuana, like gummies and edibles and things like that?
I'm not aware if it does. I just that was a state change. So the state changed their not their definition. Sorry, just the term, as you noted, from marijuana to cannabis, and they changed that in all the RCWs and all of their liquor control and cannabis board material.
Right, they wanted to standardize it. Okay. But there isn't, cannabis and marijuana, to my understanding, are one and the same, right? There's anything different? I don't know.
I don't know enough.
Maybe that's a Matt question. Maybe I should look it up in the dictionary.
I don't believe, Councilmember McCluskey, there's really anything different. We were just required to change the term in the code. We still don't allow it in the city. So.
Right, yeah. Either way.
Either.
And then the other notation was the master builder's letter in regards to the restriction on the expansion of the buffers that you went through. When you reviewed that letter and looked at some of the buffer changes that you have noted, even under the hybrid scenario, do you find that that's going to impact any developable lots that we have along the wetlands there?
When it comes to the wetlands, I don't think the proposed changes really affects the developable properties. In a way, it actually, because we're combining that one scoring, it would potentially create more developable area. So I don't see any changes in our developable area for wetlands. The stream buffer increase could affect some areas. We just don't know. We don't see a lot of proposed development along streams. We run it into it more on wetlands. And a lot of times the streams that we do have, especially Leech Creek, where there is some developer property, the wetlands are so massive in those areas, they're larger than the stream buffer itself. So the stream buffer isn't the deciding factor, it's more the wetland buffer.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. Just going around, Councilmember Boykin, any final questions?
Mayor Pro Tem, I have no further questions. Thank you.
Okay, none from Councilmember Fleming. Just one quick question. Is there any particular reason why they changed flood hazard to frequently flooded area? Is that just, what was the basis behind that, if you have any visibility?
I'm not sure if there was any basis behind it. It was just another one of those going through all the definitions and seeing what they changed in the RCW. And I couldn't tell you why they changed it to frequently flooded areas.
Okay. I just had to ask. Okay. Well, hearing no more questions, thank you, gentlemen, very much. And that was the last item on our agenda, save for adjournment. So this meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Great job.
I know.